I should not be making this at this time. Y'all, it is actually 2 in the morning on the dot right now. 2:01 in the morning. This is not good for my sleep schedule, but you know what? I wanted to make a video on anger because I feel like I have been going through it with anger recently, and I was just wondering, like, how do I deal with this? I don't want to be angry all the time. I don't want to be accidentally being disrespectful or lashing out on people. So I did me a little Bible study on it, and I want to share what I found. So we're just gonna get right into this Bible study, could you call it? I don't know. 2 a.m. Conquering anger biblically. What do we need to know? Now, I can't look up every single verse in the Bible right now because I have so many verses. You're about to be spammed with Bible verses in this video. I'm gonna be using my iPad. I'm not gonna be flipping through these pages for like 20 minutes, y'all. I can't do it. So, well, I could, but it's gonna take me like 10 years. Okay, so I'm not doing it. Conquering anger, the first thing I found was that we have to have a knowledge of what anger actually does. Like, what are the results of acting in anger, right? Let's say you're in a situation, all of a sudden anger overcomes you. What exactly is that doing? It's giving the devil a foothold into your life if you act on it. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26 to 27, which says, "In your anger do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold." Now, the devil is not only getting a foothold because you feel this anger and you can act out on it, you can lash out against people. We'll get into it, but it's also giving the devil a foothold because this can cause just bitterness. And I feel like that's why it says, do not let the sun go down on your anger, because when you go to bed angry, right, you're thinking about it all night. That is stirring up in your head. Sometimes people have dreams about it. It gets so serious, and then you're thinking about it the next day when you wake up. It ruins your whole day. All of a sudden, you're lashing out at cashiers and fast food workers who did nothing to you, or even family members, friends. They didn't do anything, and you're treating them rudely. We can see what happens in Proverbs, especially when someone is quick-tempered. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 7, it says, "A quick-tempered person does foolish things, and the one who devises evil schemes is hated." Now, what just happened? Instead of letting your anger go, you held on to bitterness. Now what are you doing? Foolish things. You know what? And when you let the devil get a foothold like that, a lot of people do make evil plans against that person. Even if it's something as small as like, oh, this person wants me to make food for them, I'm gonna make it a little extra salty this time. You know, like, it could be something as petty as that. I mean, a lot of people take it way further than that. You know, we see like murder cases and everything. Usually a lot of those start out because there was some sort of anger, there was some sort of bitterness, there was some sort of unforgiveness. And that's where the devil really takes a foothold in those situations, because now it wasn't just, oh, I'm angry at this person, but let me figure it out and let me let it go. It's no, I'm gonna plan a whole thing and they're gonna die. But with the less serious cases, we even see in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 6, it says, "The lips of fools bring them strife, and their mouths invite a beating." I've seen a lot of people where they get angry at somebody just randomly, as literally a stranger, and all of a sudden they're beating each other up in the street. They're like, let's take this outside. No, how about we stay inside and resolve it? Like, if you go around, especially in your anger, and you're talking to people all crazy, what do you think's gonna happen? And the most important part of all of this is the fact that we're here to represent Christ. You think you're gonna represent Christ when you're over here beating people up in the middle of the street, when you're over there talking to people who did nothing to you rudely, when you're over there treating your own family mean because something bad happened to you, or when you're literally living in unforgiveness, living in bitterness, living in anger? No, and we're supposed to be ambassadors of him, which it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20. We are therefore Christ Christ ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. Notice how it says, as though we were making his appeal through us. Every time you get out there and talk to a stranger, every time you're talking to any unbeliever, or even followers, you know, who aren't that strong in their faith yet, you're representing who Christ is, because they don't know him yet. In their eyes, you basically are him. And that's not in a literal sense, but when unbelievers see somebody, right, and they're Christian, oh, well, if you act that way, that must be how your God acts, right? If you're getting all angry at me and trying to beat me up in the middle of the street and cussing me out and doing all this stuff, oh, that must be how Jesus acts, right? And that's exactly why so many people don't even want to come to Christianity. All these ambassadors of Christ who aren't even actually being ambassadors of him. You aren't even representing who he is. You could be the one person standing between someone who is an unbeliever getting to know Jesus or going the other direction and never coming back. All because you let the devil get a foothold, because you had a little anger about something. Ain't nobody's eternity, including yours, worth a little split-second feeling of anger, because we know eventually when you wait it out and which we're going to talk about in a second, but when you just wait it out and leave, that anger is eventually going to go away. That's not going to stick with you, and then guess what? You're going to feel like, oh, it wasn't really that big of a deal, or oh, I was being silly. But that's why we can't be doing that stuff. So the first step we had with this was having the knowledge. What does anger produce? What are the fruits of anger? The second one here is, well, what do we do? What do we do when we feel that anger rising, a fight is starting to break out? What do we do? What actions do we take or not take? The thing I would say to that is just stop it before it starts. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 14. Starting a quarrel is like breaching a dam. So drop the matter before a dispute breaks out. When people start getting mad at each other, what does it do? It only escalates and escalates and escalates. It seems harmless at first, right? Maybe you get a little crack in the dam, if we want to use this analogy. A little water starts spurting out and you're like, it's fine. I'm just going to cover it up, put a little dirt there, put a rock in front of it, right? But then all of a sudden, the crack starts getting bigger. And all of a sudden, more and more water's coming out. You can't keep up with that. And then all of a sudden, you're flooded. You're drowning. You could think that everything is fine and dandy. Y'all are just having a good, back and forth talk. Maybe y'all are debating something, right? And that anger starts to come up and you're like, how could this person think that way? You're thinking all these thoughts, right? And they're thinking it too. And y'all's voices starts to get louder. That's when you need to just cut it off. Even before then, if you can, right? When you notice it, boom. And you have to recognize that. That's part of having the knowledge that we talked about. That is kind of in the first step. Your wisdom and the knowledge that you've gained should produce some sort of action. We see this again in Proverbs. This time it's chapter 19, verse 11, and it says, a person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. And that's where we're getting this right now. We're getting our wisdom. We're getting our knowledge from his word. This is him speaking to us and giving us that knowledge. And you can ask him for knowledge and wisdom directly too. He gives it freely. But when you have this knowledge and you are in your word, you know what the Bible says about these things, then you can quickly reference it. You can know it. It becomes ingrained in you. And that should then lead to, hey, when I am about to get in this argument, let me go back to my wisdom. Let me go back to what I know is logically right. It should produce some sort of change. If it's not producing a change in any sort of way, even if afterward you're not thinking, hey, that was wrong, I should have reacted differently. If you're not even having that thought after, at that point you need to look inside yourself and be like, okay, well, am I in my word enough? Am I, talking to God enough? Should I ask him for wisdom? What should I pray about in order for this to change? What steps should I take? If you're not having that struggle there, that fight with the flesh, are you really like that with God? So that's something to keep in mind too. Another thing I would just say, just me personally, would be recognize what your triggers are when it comes to anger specifically. That's also another form of wisdom. That's something you can recall in the moment and be like, okay, well, I know this thing's gonna make me angry, so let me walk away. Separate yourself from the situation so you don't have to deal with it at all. You don't even have to deal with cutting off the argument, because that's a hard thing to do as humans. We want to keep going. I know, y'all that know. And with that feeling when you want to just keep going, you want to keep getting your point across, that's foolish. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 18 verse 2. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinion. That's where the third step of this comes in, and that's just having love and understanding for that person. And I know this can be one of the hardest things to do when you're just angry at somebody, but it's what you need to do. I feel like we have an idea with love of we have to be all lovey-dovey on that person. I feel like that's how the world makes it out to be sometimes, but that's not always what love is. Sometimes love is just sitting back and having empathy, being patient with the person. Look at 1 Corinthians 13:4 and on at what love is. Love is patient, love is kind, verse, the really popular one. And I'm not going to read it here, but look at what that is and give that a genuine look. When we have that love for anybody, and we really should have it for anybody and everybody, it says in 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8 that it covers a multitude of sins. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. When you're in the moment and you're angry towards a person, if you just sit back and have that love Have that understanding. Everything that love says it is in 1 Corinthians, you can kind of get calmer, bring yourself back down to an earthly level and think, you know what, well, maybe this person is going through a lot that I don't know about. And you can even look deeper within yourself. Maybe this is a problem that I have with me. Why am I getting so angry? Looking inward, not just blaming everything on the other person. Something I found especially is that anger can really be an issue with pride, because often when we're angry at somebody, I feel like a main thought, like at least for me, is like, how could they act that way towards me after all I've done? After I've treated them like this, and after I've done that for them, how could they suddenly do me wrong like that? And I'm putting myself on this high of a pedestal. I've done so much worse to God. How could I put me this high? When you have that pride and you're thinking stuff like, how could they do that to me? They're so this, they're so that. You're putting yourself above God, low key. Because then you're saying, oh, you know what, God, I know I've done you wrong so many times. I don't care about how wrong I've been. I'm just going to focus on how this person did me wrong. How can I be mad at anybody else when I know what I've done to God and what he had to go through because of the sin that I've committed, because of the things that I've done? And sometimes the things that I still continue to do. When I look at it that way, it's really not worth it to be mad at anybody. When it comes to that person, we just gotta pray for him. Genuinely pray for him. It says this in Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. And even praying for yourself in these moments. And this doesn't mean a prayer where you're like, Lord, make them a better person because they treat me wrong. Or Lord, get vengeance on them. We're not talking about that kind of prayer. We're talking about a prayer where it's like, forgive me. And give me understanding about this person. Give me love towards this person. Change my heart first and foremost. Lord, help them grow in you. Help them grow their relationship with you. Help them to seek your face. Even help them to forgive me if I did something wrong. The fourth step is realize you aren't innocent either. I feel like when we get mad at people or when people do us wrong, we're getting a small microscopic taste of what God deals with every day with each and every one of us. You need to forgive that person. You need to realize like, hey, I'm not perfect either, and I do God wrong every single day. Who am I to hold unforgiveness towards somebody who I am just as guilty of? Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. You know what? I'll just go into Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32, and it says, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you. So forgive other people, because y'all are equal. Y'all are on the same playing field. Just one of the scarier things about unforgiveness is if you don't forgive and you're way down here compared to God, you think God's gonna forgive you? In Matthew chapter 6, verse 15. But if you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins. That's a scary thought, when you're so angry at somebody. It's like a distraction from what really matters. It's that distraction of like, well, I'm forgetting about what my eternity could look like holding on to this unforgiveness. Whatever that person did to you, is it really worth an eternity in hell? Because you couldn't forgive somebody for the super small thing they did in comparison to an eternity. Personally, I think not. In my opinion, at least, forgiveness does not always mean you don't have any more emotions about it. You could be hurt. You could be sad. You could even be angry. I think there's that difference there of when you choose not to forgive, you're actively holding on to those emotions, you're actively holding on to those things instead of trying to let it go. And forgiveness, at the end of the day, it's ultimately going to serve you to help you overcome those feelings, to help you overcome those emotions. Even if you don't even mean it 100% at first, if you just say, I forgive that person and I recognize that I do wrong too, and you have that humility, that's going to eventually help you to overcome it. But if you keep holding on to it, oh, I can't believe they did this. Why would they do me wrong like that? Like, they're a terrible person. You're always going to be on this high and mighty, I'm all this in a bag of chips kind of mentality, and you're not going to get any sort of forgiveness from that. You don't think they should be forgiven with that mentality. You can't move on that way. A big part of this just comes with searching yourself, as I was kind of saying earlier. I felt like I got ahead of myself earlier. Psalm chapter 4, verse 4 says, tremble and do not sin. When you are on your beds, search your hearts and be silent. And of course, look into what this verse means yourself. But when I read this verse, I just thought at the end of a long day, where we sinned a lot, and this can involve anger as well, anything really. You just need to sit down and search your heart. Ask God to search your heart too. Have that humility to come to God and be like, I know I did this and this and that. I am sorry. Help me to change. Help me to recognize in the moment when I'm about to do these things or when I'm doing these things, so I could stop, so I could be better, so I could be more like you. I think you'll recognize that humility alone can help so much with forgiveness. And lastly, the fifth step, kind of as I was just saying, is like, go to God. A lot of times when we're in that anger, especially at the end of the day or whatever, and we're just, man, I just want to rest. I don't want to think about nothing, but that's not the way to go. That's a distraction right there. You want to just scroll on your phone. You want to watch something on Netflix. You want to eat that food. You want to smoke something. You want to drink something. That's all a distraction from what really matters, and it just leaves you further in sin. But when you go to God, He can give you a true peace and a true healing, and He can help you improve as a human being and as a child of Him. And so take that situation and be like, Lord, what are you trying to help me learn in this? What are you trying to tell me in this, God? But when you come home and you just immediately forget about all of that, you're not giving Him the chance to even tell you, to even be a teaching moment, a learning moment. You're not just doing God a disservice, you're doing yourself a disservice and the people around you a disservice, because then you're staying in this state of stagnation. You're not moving forward, you're not being better, and you're not advancing your relationship with God, which is the most important thing of everything. And we can even be really hard on ourselves, what we could have done or said differently, and though that's good to an extent, that can be really destructive as well. So take that time to focus on the good. Focus on God, all that He's done for you, the fact that He's forgiven you for whatever you did that day, whatever you did wrong. Just allow His grace and His forgiveness and His love to kind of overflow onto you. Philippians chapter 4, verses 6-8. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And I don't know about you, but the one thing that I see as excellent or praiseworthy is God. So focus on Him. Don't focus on those distractions. Don't focus on beating yourself up or, beating the other person up mentally. Because those are things that are easy to get stuck in, and they'll just lead you down a path of a whole lot of hurt and a whole lot more unforgiveness. So yeah, that's what I found in my Bible study. I'll even put the steps down in the description. If you want to look it over or even write your own notes on it, hey, I welcome that. I really do hope this helps somebody. If you have any ideas, anything that, you would want me to speak about, then you can go ahead and write it in the comments. If I can't answer it or whatever, I ain't gonna answer it. Okay, because I'm trying to give biblical truth. If you want to keep up with these videos, I'm going to be doing regular regular Bible readings as well. We're just going through like the stories in the Bible. I posted my first one on Genesis the other day. The next one is going to be about Adam and Eve. So if you want to check in for that one, go ahead, subscribe. Like the video if it helped you, share with people if you think it could help them. It feels weird to say that, but and then I also have a TikTok where I kind of just talk about God and like my own experiences with Him. I'll put my @ in the description so you can go give that a look if you want to. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Second video, let's go. I hope to see y'all in the next one. Bye.